Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's going to be a review of Melody by V.C. Andrews. And I don't know why I kind of got down this rabbit hole of thinking, oh, I've never read anything by V.C. Andrews. And I think her most famous novel is going to be Flowers in the Attic. And I think that this recently got a film or TV adaptation. I didn't watch it, but my sister told me what it was about. So if you know, you know. And I found that this author in particular is kind of known for a very particular type of family drama novel. Often described, at least in the reviews that I saw, as New Gothic. And I thought, I like Gothic, and I'm kind of getting my books together for spooky season, and I thought, perfect, let's try one of her books. So I'm kind of frustrated because despite my endeavor to read an actual V.C. Andrews book, I have my notes here, I did not, because V.C. Andrews' name is attached to a lot of books that were published after she died. How, you may ask? Well, because her estate gave the rights to a particular author to be a ghostwriter and write novels with her name. So there is no mention when you go and look for these books that this is not written by V.C. Andrews, that this is in fact a ghostwriter who is in fact a man. And I had my sneaking suspicions as I was reading this book that somehow a man was involved in the writing of this female character, because I just, you know, you get that feeling. And there are some authors, male authors, who write female characters and they're great. And I have no problem with men writing female characters or vice versa. But sometimes there is a particular type of character that men tend to write. And you'll know when you hear about Melody. But I did not find this out until after I read the book. And the author who is her ghostwriter is Andrew Niederman. I can put the name here. But I believe his most popular book is The Devil's Advocate. He's also a published author and had written, you know, some kind of famous books. So I thought that was really weird that his name is not attached in any way. You would have no way of knowing unless you look up, you know, V.C. Andrews' life and death, and, you know, you see, oh, hey, this was published in 1997. She died in 80 something. So weird. Yeah, so I didn't read V.C. Andrews. I read a book by her ghostwriter, which apparently was approved by her estate. And I don't know how close this matches a actual V.C. Andrews book. You can let me know in the comments if you know the difference, or if you can, you know, if you have noticed a notable big difference in tone or characters from the books written by her versus the ghostwriter. But all this to say, I don't know, I might have to just pick up another V.C. Andrews book to actually review, but we will talk about Melody now. And this was a family drama story that I didn't really like, and I felt was basically a train wreck. I'm not into soap operas, but I feel like this is probably very like soap opera-esque. There was a lot of big reveals where you were like, if you were the audience, you would have been gasping like, oh, I can't believe that. But as far as New Gothic, I didn't feel like this was Gothic in any way. There's not any sense of foreboding. There's not any suspense. It is just Melody going about her life trying to unravel family secrets. So she starts off, and I apologize, it's going to be a longer video with this will have full spoilers. If you want to know my thoughts, 1.5 stars. There was some writing that was good, especially towards the end. The writing style is not terrible. I don't like the characters, don't like the story, and I didn't feel any connection to these characters. I kept, in fact, believing that Melody, throughout the whole story, I kept thinking her name was Ruby, because that's a different V.C. Andrews book, which I think is also a ghost-written book. And I had seen that, and for some reason I was like, oh, Ruby stuck with me, whereas Melody didn't. And I didn't like connect with her enough as a character to even remember her name. Say what you will about that. But I didn't like her. I bet there's like, she's a very inconsistent character. So let's get into it. Full spoilers ahead. I wouldn't recommend this. Okay, so Melody starts off, flipping the page on my notes. So Melody's story begins in a small mining town in West Virginia. She lives with her parents. She's happy. She has a best friend, Alice, who is the MVP of this story. You will not convince me otherwise. And she has a boyfriend that she's not too serious about. So she's just going about her life. She loves her dad. Her mom is super flighty, very vain. Everyone, like, her mom's main characteristic is everyone always is like, she's so beautiful. And that's all she's kind of known for. She works at the beauty salon. She's very beautiful. She's not the best mom because she's always like, oh, if I wouldn't have had you so early, I would have been a model, I would have been an actress, but I'm stuck here. She's one of those. And she's kind of like a mom who never grew up and then is like, well, let's just be friends because I'm just too young and beautiful to be a mom. I don't like those characters, but whatever. That's the type of mom she is. Her dad is the opposite, loves her, takes care of her, you know, like light of her life. So you know he's a goner. And that's kind of what is the catalyst for this whole like starting off of this story. Her dad dies in a mine accident and her mom immediately hooks up with this shady guy in town, Archie, I don't remember his last name, Archie something, Archie Marlin. And he's kind of like known as being, you know, not a good guy, might have forged some checks, like might have had to leave his last place he lived because of some shady dealings. And her mom is immediately like hooking up with him. It's like, so apparently she loved Melody's dad, but she just can't be alone. So she's got a new man. And it's not graphic, but we are told that like they're sleeping together in a way that's like, you know, but it's not, like I said, it's not graphic. But yeah, so she's very quickly moved on. And then shortly after that, she decides she's got to shake the dust of this small town off her feet and get out. And her and Archie and Melody go. And they're going to go see the rest of the family that is her dad's family in Cape Cod. Melody is like, well, we had a big falling out with them, didn't we? Like you had. And the mom's like, they hated me because I was adopted. They didn't want your dad to marry me, but it's all water under the bridge and they're going to, you know, be excited to see you. You need to go see your uncle and your cousins and we're going to go visit our family in Cape Cod. So this is her dad's brother and like that family. And we don't know what the big like blowout was. We only have the mom saying like that the family didn't like her because she was adopted. And she tells Melody like, they treated me badly and they didn't want your dad to marry me, but it's okay. Like they'll accept you when we're going to go back and visit. Now here's where Melody's inconsistent character comes in. Melody is said to be very smart. She's very good at school. She plays the fiddle. She sings. She's musically inclined. She's very talented. She's very capable. Her mom is not a homemaker mom. So Melody does the cooking, cleaning, and all of that. Melody also, during the like road trip with Archie and her mom's name is Hallie or Haley, I'll put it there. She has a banter back and forth with him where she's basically like constantly calling him on all of his BS, where he's claimed to do all these wonderful things on his travels and she's like, yeah, sure you did. And that that Melody is very like short, like don't like her. Don't get used to this because this will end. This smart, capable girl who's like given as much like back as she's getting. No, she does not like continue throughout the story. Melody is going to have her character development is going to like, whew. So you get the impression that she's able to, you know, see through things. She knows immediately like this guy's trash. He's lying to my mom. She sees through a lot of her mom's lies because her mom kind of is allergic to the truth in a lot of ways. She just says whatever she feels and what she wants to believe. She just believes she's going to go and become a model and become this, you know, movie actress because she's so beautiful. So they go back. And like I said, during the whole trip, Melody is just like on it. Like she's like, no, mom, like this guy's trash. And so they get to the relatives in Cape Cod. And so this would be her dad's brother, Uncle Jacob, and his wife, that is Aunt Sarah. Their two kids are Carrie and May is deaf. So I don't know why, because I don't feel like that contributed much to the story, except for that it made Carrie like very protective of her. So her cousins, Carrie and May, and there's a dead cousin, Laura, who was Carrie's twin. So find out once they get to this family that Melody is going to stay with the uncle and cousins because she is basically going to be the replacement for their dead daughter, Laura. This is not like explicitly said, like her mom's like, oh, just stay here. I want to go travel for a little bit, get my footing and find us a place. And I'm going to, you know, start looking for modeling jobs and I'm going to, you know, I'll come for you later. But the way that Aunt Sarah is like basically having her wear Laura's clothes and take over her room and all this, you're like, oh, okay. So they were like, sure, you can replace our dead daughter. It's weird. It's not creepy. It's more sad. It's definitely not gothic. Like it's not played up like this is very sinister. It's just like, oh, poor Aunt Sarah. She can't get over the death of her daughter, Laura. And she really wants to believe that Melody can take that place and be that wonderful child that she lost and that she can love again. So Carrie, her cousin, is very antagonistic at first, and her uncle Jacob is also the same. He's like super religious in a way of like, oh, you know, we read the Bible every night and we don't go out and, you know, do things, you know, that would bring dishonor on our family. And, you know, he says a lot of like things about her mom that's implying like you come from bad stock basically, and, you know, hopefully you don't turn out like her. But nothing is really said about her dad or what was the big like blow up. So she lives there. She doesn't like it. She doesn't like enjoy Cape Cod. That's where they are. And she doesn't fit in at school. There's a girl that's like kind of helping her named Teresa, but they're like in different class. Like she's like a mixed race girl. This is how she's described. And Melody is obviously, you know, part of a little bit of a different class because they're like working class, and then these are like the people who own the boats and do all this stuff in Cape Cod. And so that's like they're like a family that has a reputation. So her and Teresa can't really be close friends. But all the other girls are like straight out of Mean Girls, very catty, very like as soon as she walks in, implying really weird stuff about her cousin Carrie and like possibly him having something to do with Laura's death, or possibly having some kind of inappropriate incestuous relationship with Laura. Like they like come right out of the gate with it. They're like, hey, do you know about this? Like he doesn't even like party. He doesn't smoke like marijuana. He doesn't know what the Beatles are. Oh, this is set in probably like the 60s, 70s because the Beatles are referenced, if you didn't get that from anything else I said. But they're just like mean girls for no reason. Like they have no reason to be this way, but I guess the story needed mean girls. So flipping the page of my notes again. I have one note that's a timeline and one note that's a family tree. Like it's so frustrating, the story. So, okay. So the next like major plot point is they go to visit the grandparents. So this is going to be Uncle Jacob and her dad. His name was Chester, her dad's parents. So throughout all of this, there's like this implication that there's this big hidden family secret. There will be lots of secrets and none of them will be satisfying once the reveals happen, but many secrets. And everybody in this story, besides Melody and Carrie, is a liar and a hypocrite, basically. Aunt Sarah's kind of like meh, and May is obviously like the sweet deaf girl, like everyone loves her. But everyone else lies and is basically a terrible person. And I don't feel like they tried to make likable characters. So they're going to go visit Grandma Olivia, and I think the grandpa is Samuel, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes. And they're like, you know, wealthy. They have some money and they're going to go, they all have to get dressed up. Everybody's on their best behavior. It's like, you can't upset Olivia because she's like this matriarch of the family and she runs everything really. So they go there and Melody's having a terrible time. She doesn't like it. Once again, there's a lot of implication like that her mom was, you know, not the best. And that, you know, they don't even really mention her dad. So they hang out and the kids go off and the adults go off and they're at the grandma's house. And she says something that Carrie doesn't like. And so Carrie gets really mean to her and is like, hey, you want to know why everyone was against your parents getting married? Do you ever wonder who your adopted mom's parents were? Yeah, it was our grandparents. She was raised with your dad as siblings. Like she was their adopted sibling. That's the first reveal. So her parents were raised together as siblings. She was adopted by obviously the grandparents and her, and so it's Haley, Chester, and Uncle Jacob, but Jacob all raised together. And this is like one of the big conflicts that happened with the family. And she's like, that can't be true. Why wouldn't my mom tell me? And like, how could they all just like cut her off just because they fell in love and like they got married and, you know, and they're like, well, that's what happened. So like your mom lied to you. Like it's not because she was adopted. They loved her, but then she, you know, took their son, like that she had been raised as like, this is your brother. And it was like, yeah, your mom has problems. So it's basically like that. And she's just like, okay. So our girl Melody, lots of inner turmoil. And this is going to be the first, we're getting into the first of the two attempted sexual assault grape scenes. I hate that I have to say this. Ugh. Okay, so there's a guy at school. His name is Adam Jackson. She has been warned. She meets him in the cafeteria, says hi to him. Basically, hey, my name's this, my name's this. The next time that she sees him, she goes on this boat with him and they immediately, like, he's kissing her, his hands are all over her. Melody seems to be like in a state of blissful unawareness of what's going on. Like she knows but doesn't react. And I'm kind of like, if a guy kissed me after meeting me like once, I would think that's super gross and creepy. And she was told that he has a like notch in his sailboat for every girl that he slept with. Like, she has been warned. So Melody can see like the trashy guy that that her mom hooked up with. Like, she can see through all that. She can see through all the lies. But this guy, it's like all of her common sense just goes whew, because she's like, oh, I found out my mom was adopted by my grandparents and that she was raised with my dad as a sibling. And like, there's this big controversy. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. So of course, Melody is like, hey, and I'm not victim blaming because obviously like this guy is trash, but Melody is set up as this very like smart, capable character. And then they just like throw all that out the window to have this attempted grape scene. Damn, grape. Sorry. Okay, so she goes out with him like the next night. She's, you know, all upset because she doesn't want to be there. She's stuck in Cape Cod. Her mom has basically called and said like, I'm not coming back. I'm in Los Angeles living my best life. And so she goes out with him on the beach and immediately he's giving her vodka and cranberry juice, like trying to get her drunk. She's taking it. She's drinking it. He starts messing around and things progress to the point where like he's trying to do, you know, something. And her cousin Carrie saves her. So it's not super graphic, but it is, you know, yeah, it's described. So, I mean, if you don't want to read something like that, obviously I understand. I didn't, but here we are. It's, like I said, not super graphic, and then she gets saved by her cousin Carrie. But I felt like that was very much like totally just undercut her character. This was like just complete sabotage because it was like, hey, forget everything you heard. Now she needs to be a damsel in distress, and this is who she is now. So Carrie saves her, and the book kind of has Carrie and Melody set up as an almost enemies to lover style relationship. Yeah, we'll get there. Where there's a slow, like, he really hates her, but it's because he really misses Laura and he doesn't know how to react to her because they are different, but also she's kind of taking Laura's place, and he, you know, like was so close with his twin, but there's a lot of like implied, like maybe he was too close with his twin. I don't know. It's very weird. And I was like, is this a romance? Like, what is going on with them? It seems really weird. He's like very protective of her and then takes care of her. Obviously, like the next day at school, all the gossip is going around that she's doing weird stuff, and that the guy who attempted to assault her says that he found her and Carrie on the beach and that they were doing stuff. And so like Carrie beats him up and then he confesses the truth, and it's all over the school. But Melody is at the point now where she's decided she can't live with all the lies and she can't get any truth from her mom. So she decides the only person who's going to tell me anything in this awful family is my grandmother. So she goes to see the grandma, and here's where I have to go back to my family tree notes. She's like, Grandma, why? Why were you so mad that my parents got together? Was it because they were adopted, you know, siblings? Like, is that why you hate my mom? Because she was adopted? And she's like, that's not why. And she's like, why would I hate your mom? Because she's adopted. Like, it was my choice to take her on. I should never have done it. But the only reason I did is because, shocking revelation, she was the illegitimate daughter of my sister, Belinda. Belinda, we didn't know, and is mentioned in passing that she is currently residing in a mental institution of some kind and has had problems all her life. And Haley is her illegitimate daughter. So then Melody's next thing is like, oh, so it's because they're cousins? Like, is that why? Is that why you were so upset? No. She's like, that's not why. That's not why I don't talk about my son and hate your mom. Like, no, that's not why either. So she's like, I don't understand. And Melody is very emotional at this point. She's like, she cries a lot. I get it, but still. So Melody, and I think she's 15. Let's just put that in perspective. So Melody is like, what? Tell me. And she's like, do you really think you can handle the truth? And Melody's like, yeah, I can handle the truth. So her grandma tells her that basically her mom had a reputation. A lot of boys, and she got around. I don't know how nicely to say this. And that she was spoiled by the grandpa, and it was like they adopted her thinking that they could help her, but she always had this, you know, she was super selfish. Everything was about her, and then she just needed all the attention from all the boys. There was, you know, she didn't know how many different guys she cycled through, but she got pregnant. And then, here's the kicker. When it was found out that she was pregnant, she said that the grandpa, who was her adopted father, had assaulted her and that he was the father of her baby. Yeah, I know. And so that's where all the animosity comes from, because her Chester, who was her adopted brother and then who was Melody's dad for, you know, her whole life that she thought, took her side, believed that his dad really had done this, that he had, you know, assaulted Haley and that he was the father of her child. And it broke up the whole family. Jacob and Chester, who were the brothers, never talked again. They had a fight, and it was like, how could you believe her? Like, she's basically a, you know. And so this was what tore the whole family apart. So Melody can't believe it. Why would her mom do that? Why would she lie? And it is very much like a given that she was lying. I mean, I feel like there's not mystery to this if you're thinking like, oh, but what if this is all true? The grandpa is described very, very much. And I feel like this writing is very obvious. Like, you know who's the good and the bad. They're very much set up. Like, I don't feel like there's mystery throughout this book at all. And the grandpa is set up as being like a very sweet, loving person who just like immediately like cares about Melody, like wants to hear her play the fiddle, is interested in her, like for her, not like as a replacement for Laura. And so I don't think that they're setting up that her mom was actually telling the truth about any of this. And it is established that she does go through men very quickly. So, I mean, it does seem like she was just trying to get out of, you know, like being like, well, it's not my fault I'm pregnant. But yeah, like I said, as far as this being like a gothic, new gothic or whatever, I don't know why that was used, because it's not, there's no mystery. Everything's just thrown at Melody. And it's not like the grandma has like, you know, there's nothing hidden or suspicious or like sinister or dark. It's all just like, oh, what a sad family. So Melody can't handle this news. She's overwhelmed. She's like, I need to get out of Cape Cod. Everyone here is liars and trash, and I don't want to be here. And Carrie helps her to get a bus ticket to get out and gives her money so that she can take another bus and get back to her hometown. She thinks she's just going to go back there and she'll have friends, you know, that she can stay with that she had before, which of course is not what happens. So she goes back. I swear I'm wrapping up. She tries to go back. Her money is stolen on the bus, so she starts to hitchhike. She's like 15, I think almost 16. Girl. And like the first guy she meets, once again, this is the second attempted rape. And yeah, not very graphic at all. Like basically she knows what's going to happen and immediately fights him off and gets away. So thank goodness for that. But why this was needed, I don't know. Once again, undercuts her character because she's super trusting, she doesn't think, it's all just emotion. She's just doing whatever she wants, you know, to get away from Cape Cod and get back to her hometown. So it's such a bummer. Once again, this was the reason I felt like this was written by a man, because I was like, why would a woman write this? Like, Melody starts out pretty good, like as a character, and has a lot going for her, and then like progressively gets worse. And I feel like, sorry, that I was like, I think the man wrote this. And then the other thing was the giveaway was that like the constant reference to everything being too tight in her bosom. I was like, how many times do we need to reference this? Like, why can't she get clothes that fit? Why is everything too tight in her bosom? Like, they make clothes, they tailor clothes like that will fit. I don't understand this. Her clothes like all of a sudden don't fit her in her chest because we need to hear about that a lot. Like, it was very odd that kept being brought up. And I get that she was wearing Laura's clothes, but it was just a constant thing of like, oh no, it's so sad that this dress is so beautiful, but just a little too tight across the chest. Stop that. So she goes back home, and of course, nothing is the same. Her house is boarded up, ready to be rented. The friends that she thought that she could stay with aren't there. They were an older couple, and the man died, and then the wife had to go live with family. Like, there's nothing for her in this small town, this mining town, and she gets help from Alice, who, like I said, the real MVP. Alice has been keeping in contact with her. This is her friend back home. And calling her, she gives her money, like $150. She's like, I can get money together for you. I'll help you. Like, Alice actually cares about Melody and is a true friend throughout the whole thing. And Melody keeps saying, like, you're my only true friend. And I'm like, yeah, you appreciate Alice. She's great. So she makes sure that Melody, even though she had all her money stolen, like, she gives her food, gives her money, makes sure she can get back on a bus and go back to Cape Cod, where she is met on the way by Carrie, who had been sent to fetch her back. And so that's what happens. They go back, and he said, I finally found answers. Like, I think I know who your bio dad is. And he doesn't say it like that. I'm saying it like that. And she's like, no, really? And he's like, yeah. So they talk to his dad, Uncle Jacob, and he tells them like, hey, that summer that she got pregnant, this was the guy she was with. It's Kenneth so-and-so, and he is an artist. He's the son of a prominent judge in this town. And I think he's probably the father, like he's your dad, Melody. They meet him. He's like artsy, like, I don't know, like struggling artist. And like, he's shut up in his, you know, artist cave, you know, on the beach doing stuff. I don't know. I felt very just like not interested in this character because I was like, okay, so he never says anything to her. Like she goes, hey, my mom told me to come say hi, says who her mom is. Like if he knew, I feel like he kind of owed it to her to say something, but he just kind of like, oh yeah, okay. Like, and she says, I want to see like your sculptures or whatever that you do. And he has his little like place that he works out on the beach and does his art, but he's like kind of removed from society. I don't know. I am not like, okay, I don't like that like stereotype of like the artsy person that's like, I'm just so in love with my art. I just have to be away from society. And like, I feel like he's getting away with a lot here for somebody who let like a whole family be tore apart because he got Haley pregnant, most likely, is what being set up. But okay. So she meets him and he doesn't really say much, but he lets her see the art. And she's like, yeah, you know, like I'm so like, I love music. I play the fiddle. Like I also love art too, kind of a thing. So they have like a little bit of a connection. Then, flipping back to timeline. Okay, so the final thing and kind of like the wrap up of the book is the call comes that Melody's mom is dead. Yeah, big shock. So she was driving with Archie in a car that went off a cliff, and they were able to only get his body back. So yes, I'm sure we all know where this is going, but for all intents and purposes, Melody believes her mother is gone and that she died, and they basically, all they have is like some remains that they couldn't really identify. So she's very sad, very distressed, and she's gonna just have to stay with her cousins and her aunt and uncle because she has nothing now and her mom is gone. So that's she's like devastated. And Carrie and her, like I said, the whole thing seems to be that at this point she believes, and the story is leading to them having a relationship because they're not actually cousins, but they're second cousins. So like, I get that maybe there's some legality here to work with, but they're still related. So like the family tree goes great-grandparents, grandparents. Okay, so their great-grandparents were related. Their great-grandparents are the same. Then there's, you know, the sisters, Olivia and Belinda, and then there's, you know, the parents, and then there's them. But I'm like, that's still second cousins. You're still related. I'm like, I don't know laws at that time if it was like, hey, you can still marry your second cousin, but I just don't know that we should narrow down our dating pool to just family, because I feel like this is where this book is going. And I get that her and Carrie have this connection and he's always there for her, and like she's trying to help him get over the death of his twin, but it's just weird. And at the end, like, she goes, like, he gets her a present for her birthday and she kisses him and he like moves his mouth so they kiss on the lips. And I was like, oh, no, oh, I can see the writing on the wall with this, stop. But the final, chapter of the book is her playing the fiddle at the, like, talent show for school, and the possible bio dad showing up, and then, you know, like, that's like her big triumph is like everyone seeing that she's very talented and, you know, she's gonna have a good life. At one point, her grandma does also tell her, like, hey, just so you know, your mom, who's my sister, has quite, like, we both got an inheritance, and I made sure, like, your mom was cut out of it, but you will inherit money. And so she does know that eventually money's coming to her. So I guess this is like a rags to riches kind of story in a way. But this is all kind of set up as kind of like almost like her grandma bribing her, like, hey, be good and I'll make sure that you get this money later. All delightful people. So yeah. I definitely thought this was going to be different. It's not very salacious or, like, you know, there's not like the obvious, okay, so quick spoilers for Flowers in the Attic. Oh, I don't think I can say that word. What's the, like, okay, well, sorry guys. Incest is one of the big things with Flowers in the Attic. And this is kind of what V.C. Andrews is known for, is like family love, like family, like, that end up having relationships like that. So Flowers in the Attic is a very, like, popular, I mean, it's a well-known, I guess, story. And the main, you know, takeaway from that was, like, there was an incestuous relationship. So That's why I was not surprised by like oh, well, they were cousins or they were adopted siblings who fell in love. But then it all turns out like that wasn't really true anyway. So yeah, I thought this was really weird because it was just a lot of like dumb family secrets and a lot of lies that I feel like they set up this family. This is the first book. Melody is like the first book of the Logan family. And it's like, we're like, you know, upper crust of Cape Cod and we don't want to have our reputation tarnished. And basically Melody's mom was like this horrible person that came in and kind of ruined everything and caused a lot of problems for the family. I didn't like the story. The writing is okay. The last chapter of her, when she's talking about what she's picturing as she's playing the fiddle and, you know, her home back in the mining community and all that, like, it's well written, like, it's somewhat moving, but I didn't like her, and I didn't like that they really undercut her character by making her much more of like a weak, weepy, emotional, like, makes a lot of bad choices, damsel in distress later in the story, which made no sense. So she had a lot of reverse character development, I guess. And I don't know if I should ever read V.C. Andrews' actual books, but hey, Andrew Niederman or whoever, like, why? I don't like this. I also, like, I mainly just thought this would be a great one because of, like I said, new Gothic, start off of spooky season, but this did not work for me. So I don't think I'll read any more, but if you have a V.C. Andrews book that you recommend that was actually written by her, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think about this style, or if you have a book that you think actually fits the new Gothic category really well. I'm trying to get my reads ready for October, and I'll talk to you guys in the comments. I apologize for the long video. I knew this was going to be a lot because I had a lot to say about this book, and it was just like content rich without being like actually good. But lots of stuff happened. So thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye.